this will be the end of the Scotch. Imagine you are in a must-win situation against a stronger opponent, probably in a serious tournament or a serious match, and the only thing you know in the king's pawn game is the Italian game where white plays bishop c4, after knight c6, but all of the sudden white plays the Scotch. Ouch. This is one of the sharpest openings in the king's pawn game, and it seems to be more challenging to average players. The main line is to take with your pawn on d4. If white takes on d4, that will be the Scotch game because they haven't gambited any pawn, right? But if they play bishop c4, that transposes to the Scotch Gambit, and this is the main area of my meat today. By the way, against the Scotch game, the line I recommend is to go bishop c5, so that if white takes, you simply go queen f6. Who knows, maybe you may end up winning the game like this. Anyway, in this video we are more interested in the Scotch Gambit where white plays bishop c4. Question: what do we do? I want to recommend a very safe and stable opening response to the Scotch Gambit, so stay tuned and don't skip. Yes, in the early chapters of my e5 defense course, I recommended to play bishop b4 check in this position. Point is, after pawn to c3, you just take, and after pawn takes, you simply put your dark squared bishop on b6, even after white castles short, so that you pin their f pawn to the king, and say after knight g5, you remember to play your key move knight e5 in this particular position. But see, this is okay, but you need to know what you're doing as black, so you need to memorize a bit of theory, which I believe most of you guys aren't good at. So to avoid those kinds of Scotch Gambit traps, try the following safe line that I'm going to recommend to you guys. Let's go. After the first 4 opening moves of the Scotch Gambit where they play bishop c4, forget about bishop b4 check for the time being. Nothing wrong with that, but there are many ways to kill a rat. We just want to avoid theory. The move you want to try is pawn to d6, and you are good. With this one move, you are going to eliminate a lot of traps and unnecessary theory. You won't need to memorize anything. This pawn to d6 move kinda reminds me of the Paris defense, which I presented in my e5 defense course. Again, you can check out my courses on my Patreon page or at KaspaChess.com. With pawn to d6, you just want to finish up your development very quickly, as highlighted on the board, beginning with bishop e7 in most cases. Knight f6 is also playable, and you're going to castle short without any problems. The top played move, for example, here is knight takes d4, and you don't mind giving up your queen's knight like that, because white is just going to help you achieve your Paris pawn structure. So in this position, you can just play bishop e7 if you want, or knight to f6. Why knight to f6 this time? Because white doesn't have a knight on f3, so they won't be able to play knight g5 to attack your weak f7 pawn. This is why knight f6 wins. Besides, knight f6 here comes with a simple attack on e4. So in most cases, white defends like this, after which you play bishop e7, and after they castle short, you just castle short. How cool is this, you guys? Just from the blues, you managed to get out of the opening stage safely in the Paris defense way, as if nothing happened. Oh, you are worried about knight takes. You see, Stockfish is not even worried about this. You can just go ahead and take back with your b pawn. This is what I call the Paris pawn structure, you guys, and I talked a lot about this in the Paris defense chapters of my e5 defense course. White won't be able to play knight d5 or knight b5. Besides, anytime you want to, you can always get rid of these doubled pawns along the c file, maybe with bishop b7 and this, then pawn takes. But you don't even need to do that. They play bishop f4 in this position most of the times. And now the Paris knight maneuver, you guys, knight d7, bishop f6, and knight e5. This is the top secret I'm giving you guys. There's no point for white to pin your knight. They defend their e4 pawn with knight c3. And now this is where you continue playing your Paris moves: bishop e7, castle short, and a5 next. If you want to know more about how to win more games with these Paris pawn structure, simply support this channel by getting our e5 defense course. Just in case you are not comfortable with these doubled pawns, once again, you can get rid of them like this. Say white plays pawn to f4 in this position, you can just go pawn to d5. This is acceptable. It looks like we're going to lose a free pawn after pawn takes, but there's an intermediate move to always remember here, bishop c5. This is check. After king h1, this is when you take. And yes, we are still down a pawn at this moment, but our argument is we are way ahead in development, even Stockfish supports. Think of this line like the two knights defense where black gives up a pawn for quick development and an attack. So we are going to use the light squad bishop to attack that poor king in this position. If white plays something like queen f3, trying to stop this check, I guess you were not even aware of this little trap where you fork white's rook and the queen. Point is, they can't even take back due to queen h4. The only sensible move here is for white to give up their queen and their toes, allowing you to take everything, including their nose. Who knows? Maybe you're going to win very quickly. Anyway, so once again, this is to say, if you aren't comfortable with your Paris pawns, another way you can get rid of them is just to sacrifice your d5 pawn. This is very much confirmed, and it is theory, by the way. Grandmasters know this, and there's nothing that white can do, by the way. If bishop d3, once again, your key move is bishop c5, check. King h1, knight g4, wanting to do the same trick. We saw that queen f3 runs into this knight takes h2 tactic. Question, what if they play queen e1, stopping both queen h4 and knight f2 check? Well, there are so many things you can do. Rook e8, bishop b7, or even pawn takes. Yes, there is knight takes, but you have a strong pin, h3. You can even go pawn to f5, or even better, bishop f5, because there's just nothing that white can do here. hg, bishop takes, and look at this, rook takes, so that you checkmate them in style, like this. You will find these kinds of tactics in my e5 defense course. Okay, what else can white do after pawn to d6? Maybe castle short, pawn to c3 and knight g5. I don't know what else. Say castle short in this position. And it's in these kinds of positions where I prefer starting with bishop e7 instead of knight f6, because there is knight g5 in this position, although it is not strong here due to knight e5 attacking the bishop. So if you just want to be extra careful, just start with bishop e7, not allowing knight g5 to happen, and after knight takes d4, this is where you play knight f6, allowing them to do this. You take, and as always, they have to defend their e pawn, probably like this, after which you just castle short. Once again, if they play pawn to f4, feel free to go pawn to d5, period. With this move, you're just attacking the bishop. If they counterattack like that, again, you have bishop c5 check, an intermediate move which they are going to overlook most of the times. King h1, you go knight g4. This is even worse because there is nothing that white can do to save their eyeballs. The bishop is under attack and you're just one move away from winning their rook like this. Even better, go queen h4. There is nothing they can do to your soul. You want to checkmate on h2. Say h3, because what else do they know? Here you can just go queen g3 and met them. There is nothing they can do here. The best try is to sacrifice the queen. Otherwise, moves like pawn takes will run into queen h4 checkmate. Anyway, this is to say pawn to d5 only makes sense if white plays pawn to f4, because after pawn to d5 you pave the way for your dark squared bishop. So this is one point to always remember in the Paris defense. Even when white plays bishop f4, don't just rush to go pawn to d5. You won't have a point of attack along this diagonal. Please listen. So it is in these kinds of situations where you want to think of the Paris defense maneuver. Knight d7, bishop f6, and pawn to a5. You continue playing your chess. Sometimes if you just want to neutralize things, you can even consider playing bishop e6, attacking this bishop. There is no e5 here due to bishop takes and bishop takes on f6. The other move that you may see your opponents playing is pawn to c3. Anyway, after pawn to c3, knight f6 is not much of a stretch, since you are attacking the e4 pawn. If they play queen b3, you just go queen e7 or queen d7. It doesn't even matter at this point. Knight g5, you have knight e5, also attacking that bishop. E.g., if cd, you go knight takes. After queen takes, you play h6. Then you simply complete your development like that. If pawn to e5 here, you can just take. After pawn takes, You go knight d5 if you want, queen d5, or even taking, because you know after this, I mean, you're just safe in this position. Castle shot, bishop d6, rook e1 check, king f8, and black is better. Let me know what you think about this, and if at all you like it already. And if you do, be sure to get my e5 defense course where you are going to learn about these things in detail. It is in courses where we give it our level best, explaining everything and the reasoning behind each and every move, not just showing you traps and quick tricks. We prepare you for serious tournament games, not online blitz games. No, we teach you theory, what people play in real tournaments and how they think. That's what we do in chess courses, unlike in these short YouTube videos. Anyway, let me know what you think. Bye.